Some games start slow, too much text, weird controls, or systems that don't explain anything. Sometimes that first impression is confusing, frustrating, or just plain boring. It's easy to quit right away, but if you push through, you realize the best part was still hidden. This video is all about second chances, because some games only show their brilliance after you resist the urge to give up. Before we dive in, tell me what's a game you dropped at first but later gave a second shot and were completely blown away by. And hey, if you can, hit that subscribe button. It may seem small, but it really helps the channel grow. No more delay, let's get started. You begin as a diplomat surrounded by politicians, shady deals, and kingdom drama. The world feels static, buried under endless dialogue. That's where a lot of people quit. But what no one tells you is that GreedFall is laying the groundwork. It drops you into a quiet war for control, faith, and survival, slowly pulling you in until you become a key piece on a strange and fascinating board. Bit by bit, the choice system shows its teeth. Every dialogue shifts alliances, every action carries weight. You realize you're not just exploring an island, you're walking on sacred political and magical ground all at once. Factions clash over ideology, power, fear, and you're the only one who moves freely between them, trying to figure out what the hell is really happening on this plague-ridden land. Gameplay starts to shine too. Combat, once clunky, opens up with unique abilities, magic melee combos, precise parries, and trap setups. You can go full aggression or play it strategic. The game adapts to your style. Companions evolve alongside you with deep quests, real backstories, and interactions that go far beyond the basics. And before you know it, you're in deep, and every choice you've made matters. GreedFall is slow to start, but once it hits its stride, it becomes one of the most complete RPGs of its generation. It's not about speed, it's about easing into a new world, feeling the weight of diplomacy, tradition, and the supernatural, and realizing that the real battle isn't just with swords, it's with everything words can destroy. It starts in the snow, cold, slow, heavy dialogue, heavy footsteps. A lot of people stop right there, thinking it's just another cowboy open world. But the game is doing exactly what it wants, testing your patience. It slows everything down so you can feel the weight of the life you're living. The snow isn't just background, it's part of the routine. And once the pace shifts, you realize you're already too invested. That quiet intro was just the calm before the storm. What follows is a drama about loyalty, gang life, and the end of an era. You watch up close as a once powerful group crumbles, trying to hold on to a way of life that's slipping away. This isn't a story about saving the world, it's about figuring out if there's still a place for someone like you in it. The gang dynamics evolve subtly, painfully. Even a casual conversation can carry the weight of a goodbye that hasn't happened yet. Gameplay can scare off those looking for quick action. You don't sprint around blasting like it's an arcade game. Here, everything takes time. Choosing the right gun, caring for your horse, managing your health, cleaning your rifle. But that slowness makes everything count. A train robbery becomes tense. Fishing can feel like peace or a memory. And when gunfights happen, they're sharp, fast, brutal, followed by that heavy silence after the last body drops. Red Dead Redemption 2 doesn't try to win you over on day one. It waits for you to slow down. To hear the birds in the swamp, watch the desert sunset, listen to a dumb story by the road, and then without realizing, you're no longer playing a game, you're living it. Knowing it's all gonna end someday, and no matter how hard you try, you can't stop it. A lot of people drop Dishonored 2 in the first few hours. The movement feels weird, the combat punishing, the powers limited, it all feels stiff. But the game isn't trying to please you right away, it wants you to learn. Every mistake is a lesson, every failure leaves a scar you'll remember later. And once you start understanding the rhythm, everything changes. The game opens up, and you realize just how free you really are. It starts with a brutal coup. You lose the throne, the city turns against you, and now you have to take everything back. But this isn't about direct revenge, it's about precision, about finding the right path without being seen, or leaving behind calculated chaos. Each mission is a sandbox of possibilities. Walk in the front door, sneak along rooftops, poison your target without ever making eye contact. The story doesn't push you, it gives you room to build your own approach. That's when the game explodes. The powers that felt weak become surgical tools. You learn to freeze time, teleport across rooftops, eliminate targets in total silence. Every map is a living machine, full of secrets, alternate routes, and ideas that only make sense if you think creatively. It's a game that rewards cleverness and punishes haste. Dishonored 2 doesn't hold your hand. It watches from a distance while you fall, get up, and eventually master the tools like a trained assassin. And when you finish a mission without being seen, or spare everyone by choice, you realize you just played something far deeper than it looked. It's a game built for patience, curiosity, and nerves of steel. Baldur's Gate 3 can be overwhelming at first. Endless dialogue, character sheets, dice rolls just to say hello. A lot of people quit in that chaos. It feels too complex, too slow, too stiff. But this game isn't just trying to entertain, it's teaching you how to play on its terms. And if you accept that challenge, you'll find one of the deepest and most surprising RPGs ever made. The story kicks off with a bizarre threat, a parasite buried in your brain. That alone would be enough to panic, but it gets deeper. You meet others with the same curse, and each handles it differently. Alliances shift, betrayals hit hard, and decisions change everything. Nothing is simple. Every line matters. Every action opens or closes doors you won't see again. Combat is turn-based and might feel slow, but it's where the brilliance shines. Tactical, layered, packed with magic, environmental manipulation, traps, and chained actions. The freedom is wild. Want to shove someone off a cliff? Go ahead. Turn an enemy into a sheep? Yup. It's not just for fun. The system is smart and rewards creativity more than brute force. Baldur's Gate 3 feels intimidating because it's massive, but with each decision you make, each battle won with style, each unique moment unfolding your way, you see why it's being called one of the greatest RPGs of all time. It's tough to start, but once it hooks you, walking away is impossible. You walk a lot, carrying packages, tripping on rocks, climbing rain-soaked mountains. That's when most people quit Death Stranding, because it feels boring. And maybe it is, if you expect something traditional. But if you give it time, you realize the walk is the point. Every step matters. Every delivery carries more than cargo. It carries meaning, emotion, and connection between people who never meet. The story is about a broken world. Literally, cities are isolated, fear rules everything, and ghosts roam in the form of invisible threats. Your role is almost messianic: reconnect what's been lost, but not through combat, through effort, persistence. Bonds built by force, road by road. The journey is lonely until it isn't, because eventually you realize you're not truly alone. The world reacts to your actions. Bridges, ropes, shelters, all built by other players in silence, through a system of mutual help that's more powerful than it sounds. And yes, there is combat, but it's rare, tense, and never the focus. This isn't about killing, it's about avoiding collapse. The goal is to survive, to connect, and to keep going. And somewhere in that you find a story that blends life, death, love, and responsibility with rare weight. Death Stranding demands patience, but it rewards you with a journey unlike any other game. It turns walking into something spiritual, and when everything clicks, you understand it was never about getting there fast. It was about understanding why you made the trip at all. If you're expecting more of the same from Remedy, prepare to be surprised. Alan Wake 2 doesn't kick off with non-stop action or clear answers. It drops you into a fog of confusion, mystery, and psychological horror where every step feels wrong and every clue leads somewhere even darker. That's where many give up. But for those who stick with it, the game unfolds into one of the strangest, smartest, and best-crafted stories in years. The narrative is fragmented, shifting between realities, characters, and even gameplay styles. One moment you're solving a case as a grounded investigator. The next, you're spiraling through surreal delusions and meta-narratives, questioning if what you're seeing is real or part of a book being written as you play. Alan Wake 2 messes with your perception and keeps you lost. And that's exactly what makes it so unique. Gameplay blends investigation, puzzles, combat, and narrative building. Nothing is easy and nothing is wasted. You gather clues, build theories, and have to think like a detective. Combat is heavy and brutal, with limited resources and relentless enemies. Every step forward feels costly, and that's where the fear creeps in, not from jump scares, but from sheer uncertainty. You're never sure if what you're doing is right, and that's terrifying in a whole new way. Alan Wake 2 isn't trying to win you over easily. It wants to drag you into madness and make you lose yourself with it. But if you go all the way, you'll uncover one of the boldest games of the decade. A game that embraces being strange, challenges your mind, and lingers in your thoughts long after the credits roll. The first few minutes hit you with long dialogues, complex systems, and a level of freedom that feels more confusing than helpful. Creating a character is like solving a puzzle. Combat demands strategy from the start, and that's where many give up. It feels too dense. But Divinity Original Sin 2 is exactly that, a massive RPG that makes no compromises, and those who accept the challenge find one of the most reactive and unpredictable worlds ever built in a game. The story begins with cursed prisoners sent to an island to be cured of their powers, But things go wrong fast, and you're thrown into a war between gods, sorcerers, factions, and buried secrets. The game doesn't push you in any direction, it lets you choose. That's scary, but also freeing. You build your party, make choices that save or kill, and watch the world react in wild and amazing ways. Turn-based combat is complex but addictive. Every move, element, combo, and position changes the game. The environment matters. A puddle becomes a trap. A barrel can blow up a room. A wall is both cover and cage. There's no one right solution, only the clever one you figure out. Winning a tough fight through pure brainpower is one of the most satisfying feelings in any RPG. Divinity Original Sin 2 won't hold your hand, but once you understand how it works, you realize how few games trust you this much. It believes you'll figure it out, and when you do, it hands you one of the greatest and most well-written RPGs ever made. It's dark, tight, and hostile. You barely understand what's happening, enemies are brutal, and resources are almost non-existent. Metro Redux turns many away in its opening minutes, the difficulty feels punishing, the aiming odd, and the Russian atmosphere cold and unforgiving. But this game isn't trying to be friendly. It's trying to choke you. It wants you to feel the desperation of life in the tunnels of a world destroyed by nuclear war. The story is set in Moscow, but not the one we know. Survivors live underground in metro stations, hiding from monsters, radiation, and each other. You're sent on an almost impossible mission, cross dangerous lines, and deliver a message that could change everything. But don't expect easy heroism. This journey is quiet, tense, and built on fear, darkness, and choices that hurt. Combat is raw and ruthless. Every bullet matters. Your gas mask cracks, flashlight dies, ammo runs out. You don't rush through Metro, you survive it. And slowly you realize the terror isn't just from the monsters, it's in the silence, the whispers down the halls, the remains of a society trying to cling to life with no hope. The game makes you notice everything. Even breathing becomes a tactical decision. Metro is heavy, but once you grasp its rhythm, there's no turning back. It doesn't try to thrill you with flashy action, it makes you tremble before every new tunnel, and when it works, it delivers one of the most immersive, suffocating worlds ever built in a story-driven FPS. A lot of people gave up on Days Gone after launch. Bugs, mixed reviews, and a generic-looking start zombies biker tough guy. But what many didn't see is that after a few hours, the game reveals its true self. The story deepens, characters grow, and your connection to the world strengthens. It doesn't shine from the beginning, it builds trust. And once it earns it, you won't want to let go. The story follows a man broken by loss trying to survive in a ruined world. But unlike many post-apocalyptic games, this one isn't just about action. It's about bonds. It shows how people rebuild, betray, regret, and still try to believe in something. It's a game about pushing forward when there's nothing left, and eventually you feel like you're fighting for something real, even if you're not sure what that is. On the gameplay side, the bike becomes an extension of you. It's how you travel, escape, plan. Horde fights are intense, full of tension, and force you to think fast. You won't survive by playing sloppy. And the best part, zombies aren't the main threat all the time. Human conflict is everywhere, and often much worse. Days Gone is about persistence, about not giving up in-game and out. It may not have won you over instantly, but if you give it another chance, it might leave a mark deeper than you'd expect. The beginning is pure chaos. You wake up, take weird tests, and suddenly everything goes wrong. The space station becomes a nightmare. Prey is unsettling, unclear direction, harsh difficulty. A lot of players quit before understanding what's going on. But that's the point. The game throws you into the dark and waits for you to figure it out. And when you do, you realize you're inside a sci-fi masterpiece. The story unfolds on Talos 1, a station overrun by creatures called Typhon. But these enemies aren't obvious. They hide, mimic objects, stalk you. The game doesn't hand you answers. You find recordings, dig through files, and piece things together slowly. And soon you see it's way more complex than it looked. Who you are, why you're there, what must be done, it's all up in the air. Gameplay is deep and flexible. Hack systems use alien powers, improvise with objects, or avoid combat entirely. Every choice shapes how you move forward. And that turns exploration into one of the game's best features. You revisit old areas with new skills, uncover hidden paths, and realize every corner holds something important. Prey is about observation and thinking before acting. It demands attention, patience, and curiosity, but if you commit, you'll find one of the most well-built sci-fi worlds in gaming, full of tension, mystery, and real consequences. It's easy to be impressed by the visuals, the towering machines, or the vibrant open world, But for many, Horizon Zero Dawn feels overwhelming with its systems. Crafting, skill trees, exploration, tactical combat, it all hits at once and can be too much. If you're looking for fast-paced action, you might check out early, but this game isn't about rushing, it's about discovery. And if you slow down, you'll find one of the most fascinating worlds ever built.
The planet isn't ours anymore. Civilization has fallen, replaced by tribes, wild nature, and robotic beasts that rule everything. You explore a forgotten past, trying to understand how our present became this mechanical chaos. The answer isn't handed to you in a main quest. It's buried in ruins, broken towers, and scattered data logs. Horizon rewards curiosity, not just victory.
Combat demands focus. Each machine has weak points, ideal weapons, and traps that matter. You can't just shoot wildly. The tension of hunting or being hunted is always present, and outside combat, the world feels alive. Side quests have real weight. Characters have stories and problems that don't revolve around you. Everything fits into a believable, intriguing ecosystem. Horizon Zero Dawn isn't just pretty, it's deep, well-crafted, and full of secrets. It may feel slow at first, but if you give it time, you'll realize you're inside a powerful, unforgettable sci-fi story. First impressions might feel repetitive. Similar missions, mass brawls, and that familiar open-world formula. That's why many drop Mad Max early. It can seem like another generic tie-in to a famous film. But once you start exploring, feeling the desperation of survival, and building your car as an extension of yourself, everything changes. You realize this game is much more than it seems. The story is dry, like the desert that dominates the landscape. You're a man chasing redemption, trying to rebuild what was lost, but no one helps you. Every upgrade is earned, and the world is merciless, packed with crazed gangs, sandstorms, and resource scarcity. The fight isn't just against enemies, it's against the world itself. Every win feels like a personal triumph. The gameplay is brutal. Melee combat has weight, every punch and dodge matters, but the real highlight is your car. It's not just a vehicle, it's your weapon, shield, and companion. You upgrade every part, customize its look, and tune it to match your style. Car chases turn into explosive duels at high speed, filled with gunfire, harpoons, collisions, and pure chaos. Mad Max is deceptive. It looks shallow, but the more you play, the more it reveals itself as one of the most intense and satisfying open-world action games of its generation. Stick with it, because the road, no matter how dry, leads to something memorable. It's easy to see why people bounce off this game. The art feels dated, the intro is generic, and the flood of quests and loot feels like a throwback to mid-2000s RPGs. But Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning hides something rare, a fast, deep, addictive combat system inside a vast world filled with charming side stories and surprises. The catch? It doesn't scream for your attention. It waits for you to notice if you're patient. The story starts with a powerful idea. You're the first person ever resurrected in a world ruled by fate. Where everyone's path is written, you're the exception. That places you at the heart of an epic about freedom, power, and myth. But don't expect a cinematic blockbuster. This world is more open, more relaxed, and that freedom lets the game grow slowly, with every map corner revealing new tales. Combat is what hooks you. It's real-time, fast, and smooth. With spells, combos, dodges, and flashy finishers, you can mix swords, chakrams, magic, bows, and a dynamic system few RPGs can match. Every skill point matters. You feel your character evolving, not just in numbers, but in real options during battle. Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning might look outdated at first glance, but for those who dive in, it offers a light, fun RPG packed with content, perfect for fans of side quests and lively hands-on combat. The evil within throws everything at you from the start: madness, jump cuts, grotesque scenes, and a confused protagonist. It's chaotic, aggressive, and deliberately uncomfortable. That's why many players quit early. But beneath the initial mess lies a carefully crafted game, a twisted love letter to classic survival horror that only reveals its brilliance if you're brave enough to keep going. The story seems incoherent at first, but gradually forms a psychological puzzle. You're not just fighting monsters, you're facing memories, trauma, and warped fragments of consciousness. The game bends time, space, and perception. Each chapter feels like a new nightmare. It dives deep into mental horror, more Silent Hill than Resident Evil, and demands an open mind and a strong stomach. Combat is tense with scarce ammo, hidden traps, and unpredictable enemies. You can't sprint and shoot, you must plan every move. Every dark corner might hide something deadly. The upgrade system is simple but rewarding, making every bit of progress feel earned. The game rewards survival, not mastery, and that difference makes everything more intense. The evil within isn't for those seeking cheap scares. It's dense, disturbing, and often frustrating, but that's exactly why it's worth it. Once you understand what it's doing, you'll realize it's one of the boldest, most personal horror games of its time. If you go into BioShock Infinite expecting something like the original game, you might be disappointed. Columbia is beautiful, combat is faster, and the deeper philosophy seems watered down. To many, it feels pretty but soulless. But this game has a trap. It looks simple until it lands its first narrative gut punch. Then you realize you're in one of the boldest, most thought-provoking stories in years. You're a man on a mission, bring us the girl, and wipe away the debt. Sounds cliche, but soon everything unravels. Parallel dimensions, cracks in reality, shattered identity. Columbia isn't just a city in the clouds, it's a fractured utopia soaked in racism, religious fanaticism, and politics disguised as perfection. And while you shoot and move forward, the game drops hints that nothing is as it seems. Gameplay blends fast-paced gunplay with special powers, and the sky rails create dynamic vertical battles. It can feel chaotic, but that chaos mirrors the fragmented story. The game demands attention and rewards it with emotional punches that stick with you. And the ending, it changes the way you see everything that came before. BioShock Infinite might turn off those expecting easy answers. But if you stick through the journey, you'll get one of the most complex, philosophical, and emotionally devastating stories in gaming. Starting Jedi Fallen Order can be rough. The combat's tougher than expected, the maps are maze-like, and progression feels slow. A lot of people bail early, expecting straight-up lightsaber action, and get something closer to Souls-like. But that's exactly what makes the journey special. Because once you accept the challenge, you realize you're playing the best Star Wars game in years. The story unfolds between episodes 3 and 4, with the Jedi Order nearly extinct. You step into the shoes of one of the last survivors, trying to reconnect with the Force while escaping the Empire. But this isn't about fan service, it's about emotional rebuilding, pain, memory, and starting over. And that shows not just in the story, but in how you gradually grow stronger, ability by ability. The maps are huge, interconnected, full of secrets, chests, and optional challenges. You revisit them often as you unlock new skills. The Metroidvania inspiration is clear, and it works perfectly with the precise combat system based on rhythm, dodging, and awareness. Every victory feels earned. Every boss fight is a milestone. Jedi Fallen Order doesn't ride on nostalgia. It carves its own path, serious, layered, and worthy. It may seem harsh at first, but that hard road is what makes the Force feel truly rewarding. Kingdom Come Deliverance turns people away fast. No magic, no dragons, no prophecies, just hunger, filth, hard work, and a combat system that feels broken if you treat it like any other RPG. Many quit before finding its rhythm, but this brutal realism eventually becomes its greatest strength. It's not trying to entertain you, it wants you to live that era, and when it clicks, it's unforgettable. The story is simple and raw. After losing everything in a brutal attack, your character sets out to seek justice. But justice in the 15th century doesn't come with shiny swords and epic speeches. It comes through training, humility, and effort. You have to learn to read, understand politics, hunt, survive. The game constantly reminds you you're just another peasant trying to make a difference in a world that doesn't care about your pain. Combat is heavy, technical, and demands patience. You can't just swing wildly, you need to observe, gauge distance, block, and counter with precision. That goes for everything else too. Clothes get dirty, food spoils, and the world follows historical rules that won't bend for you. It's challenging and often frustrating, but once you adapt, the sense of progress is incredibly rewarding. Kingdom Come Deliverance doesn't make anything easy, and that's what makes it so immersive. Every small achievement feels earned. It may push you away at first, but if you stick with it, you'll find one of the most authentic and engaging medieval simulations ever made. Control starts weird. A strange building, a transforming gun, cryptic dialogue, and a suffocating atmosphere. Many players bounce off early, not understanding what's going on, or expecting something more straightforward. But Control's magic lies in the weirdness. It doesn't want to explain, it wants you to feel lost, just like the protagonist, until everything starts making sense in a jaw-dropping way. You enter a government building that investigates paranormal phenomena, but this place is alive, constantly shifting and watching you. Without warning, you become the new director of the agency and must face an entity called the Hiss that's corrupting everything. What follows is a journey blending sci-fi, psychological horror, and mystery like something out of a Kafka nightmare. Combat is where Control shines. You wield a shape-shifting weapon, telekinetic powers, and lightning-fast movement, all indestructible environments. Every fight is a chaotic ballet of flying debris, collapsing walls, and enemies exploding midair. The power trip is intense, but it all takes place in a world full of documents, clues, and stories about a far more disturbing reality. Control might feel too strange at first, but if you dive in, it reveals itself as one of the most atmospheric, creative, and smart games of the generation. You just need to trust the unknown and keep going. Cyberpunk 2077 was abandoned by many, and for good reason. Its launch was a mess, bugs, broken promises, and nearly unplayable versions. A lot of players gave up before finishing the prologue, but time passed and the game came back stronger. Fixed, refined, and packed with new content, what once felt like a disappointment has become one of the most impactful RPGs ever made, and those who returned didn't regret it. Night City is the beating heart of the game, a place where everything has a price, where fame, power, and identity collide in emotional and violent ways. The main story dives into mortality, memory, and control, filled with intense characters, unforgettable twists, and choices that ripple across the entire narrative. Nothing is surface level, even the simplest dialogue can carry deep meaning. Gameplay now delivers on its promise. You can hack enemies, use high-tech weapons, install cyberware, drive all kinds of vehicles, and approach every mission in your own way. Combat is smooth, systems work, and the city feels alive like never before. It's a dystopian playground where every street tells a story and every shadow hides a secret. Cyberpunk 2077 needed time to become what it was meant to be. Today, it's a full-fledged, brutal, thoughtful, and emotional RPG. It still carries the weight of its early failure, but it also proves that second chances, when used well, can change everything. Many players quit Shadow of the Colossus without understanding what they're doing. The world feels empty, no enemies roam, the pace is slow, and there's no tutorial holding your hand. But that's where the game's greatness lives. It doesn't want to guide you, it wants you to feel. Every silence, every barren landscape, every looming Colossus on the horizon. It's a game of simple gestures and massive emotion. The story is barely spoken. You enter a forbidden land with an unconscious girl and make a dark pact to save her. Your task seems clear. Defeat 16 colossi across the land. But with each one you slay, doubt creeps in. Are you really doing the right thing? The narrative unfolds without dialogue, using visual storytelling and symbolism to say more than words ever could. Fighting the Colossus is a spectacle. Each creature is a moving puzzle demanding thought, precision, and patience. Climbing their backs, holding on as they thrash, and striking the weak point creates a unique tension. You're not just fighting monsters, you're confronting gods, or something even greater. And the game never lets you forget how small you are. Shadow of the Colossus asks for a different kind of attention. It's not about constant action, it's about reflection, moral weight, and connection to something larger. If you stick with it, you'll experience one of the most emotional, poetic, and unforgettable games ever made. Pathologic 2 is one of the most abandoned and misunderstood games of the decade, and at the same time, one of the most important. Many quit early, thinking it's broken, too punishing, or just too weird. And all of that is intentional. What looks like failure is actually part of the horror. Pathologic 2 is a simulation of despair, starvation, and social collapse. There's no way to walk away unchanged. You arrive in a remote town ravaged by a mysterious plague. The people distrust you. Supplies are running out. Days fly by. Every choice costs something. You feel helpless. You can't save everyone. You can't understand everything. That uncertainty, that inevitable failure is the heart of the game. The story is dense and surreal, with characters speaking in riddles, strange rituals, and rules that don't care if you're confused. Time never stops. Take too long, someone dies. Try to help everyone, you won't survive. Combat is clumsy, the mechanics rough, but that's part of the weight the game wants you to carry. It doesn't aim to please, it aims to shake you. Pathologic 2 is cruel, but that cruelty makes it unforgettable. It hurts, confuses, and confronts, and that's exactly why it deserves your time. Those who make it through come out changed. Drop a comment and tell us which game did you give up on, only to fall in love with later, or which one is still sitting on your shelf, waiting for that second chance. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on hidden gems we dig up here on the channel. And click on the video right here to check out the most intense single-player games you need to know. It's non-stop action from start to finish,